Hi, I'm Dan. I'm one of the youth ambassadors for the anaphylaxis campaign, and I also have an allergy blog called May Contain. And you guys have been sending questions to the anaphylaxis campaign and also myself about going to university with an allergy. So I'm going to do this video answering all your questions. I'm going to do my best I can to answer all your questions about going to university with an allergy. First question is, I recently found out I have a severe peanut allergy and was wondering if it would be possible for you to give me some advice about how you tell your friends about your allergy. I'm worried that I might seem needy or annoying. Let's start off by saying you're not needy or annoying for bringing up your allergy. I think it's so important, and I think a lot of people going to university make this massive deal in their heads of how they're going to get perceived. And honestly, when you bring up your allergy, students are so understanding about your allergy, and I had such a good experience when I did bring up my allergy. And I think it's so just trying to bring it into conversation. So whether you're in the kitchen and you just say, "Oh, just so you're aware, I've got severe allergy," and making sure that they know what the auto-injector is or how to use it. So I always make sure I've got test set auto-injectors when I educate my housemates about my allergy. But yeah, don't make it a big deal, just bring it up in conversation. And it's not weird, it's not strange to just randomly bring up your allergy. I do it all the time and people are so understanding. So yeah, make sure the first thing you do about university is educate people about your allergy and how to use the auto-injector. What is it like sharing accommodation and what measures can be put into place? So I was a bit crafty when I went to university. I actually brought my own mini fridge, which I think is actually illegal, you couldn't do, but I brought my own mini fridge and I hid it in the flat. So I used to actually put my food in the mini fridge. In terms of measures, I think obviously educating your housemates is so important and making them aware about how serious it is. I found that for me, it did get easier as the years went on because obviously you're living with friends where at the start of uni, you're usually living with complete strangers, so it can be quite nerve-wracking, but I think it's so important to kind of bring it up in discussion, whether you're in the kitchen, you mention it them, or maybe you just say, "Oh, hi, I'm Dan, I just want to make you aware, by the way, I've got severe nut allergy, and this is the auto-injector, this is how to use it." And I think, like I said previously, I think sometimes people make it such a big deal, in the head, and then when it comes down to it, they get quite nervous. But I think it's so important just to bring it up in conversation, and like I said, people so understanding. In terms of measures, it's making sure obviously to clean up after themselves, to make sure there isn't any kind of cross-contamination, and if they are going to cook with nuts in the kitchen, which just does happen sometimes, or they are going to cook with your allergen, to make you aware so you know not to go in the kitchen during that time. And that still happens now, even when I moved to London. Sometimes my housemate in my last house, there was a lot of us, there's 8 people in the house, and if they did cook with nuts in the kitchen, they did make me aware. So I think it's good, you know what I mean? It's very tricky because obviously you can't say, you can't eat this or you can't eat that, but if you can educate them, then they're most likely not going to eat it, or if they are going to eat it, they're going to make you aware not to be around them during that time. So yeah, I think education is so important, definitely around strangers or meeting new people. The next question is, my girlfriend has a nut allergy and she's asked me to go nut-free too, so I don't pass on nut protein through close contact. Is that really necessary, or is she being overcautious? And it's absolutely so important to mention this to your partner as well. Obviously, if you've got a really severe nut allergy, and making sure that they don't eat nuts around you, because you can have a severe allergic reaction if there's enough nut protein in the saliva and you kiss a girl or a guy, and they can have a severe allergic reaction, and that's the last thing you want to do to your partner or someone closest to you, to have a severe allergic reaction because you let your guard down or because you ate something they was allergic to. So I think it's so important to definitely not eat their allergen around them, definitely if their allergy is really serious. So yeah, your girlfriend is absolutely right. She's not being overcautious, and it is so important not to eat the allergen around them in case she has an allergic reaction. So during freshers, how did you keep yourself safe? And so during freshers, that time where you're drinking a lot of alcohol and there's going to be spirits and mixers, and I think it's so important to always double check with the bar staff if you are drinking spirits, to make sure there is definitely no cross-contamination, or if you're doing cocktails and the mixing the spirits. So, and I think during freshers as well, you do a lot of pre-drinks, so you have your friends over at the flat and you'll be playing drinking games, and there's sometimes the drinking games where everyone pours the alcohol in the same pan, and then the person who loses the game's got to drink it. And I think it's so important in them kind of circumstances to make sure you speak up about your allergy, make them aware, saying, "Sorry, I can't drink that because I've got a really severe nut allergy, and if someone's cocktail or spirit contains nuts, then I could go with a severe allergic reaction." And I think it's so important to speak up in these scenarios, and like I said, students are really understanding about allergies, and I think more so now, students going to university, they're probably aware about allergies, obviously being in the news, or they know a friend or a family member who's got an allergy. So yeah, never feel embarrassed to speak up about the allergy during freshers. Is how can I work on the anxiety of using the auto-injector? I really struggle with it and I'm afraid I won't be able to administer it myself. I think it's actually really important if you've actually got any like old auto-injectors to maybe like test on like an old orange or fruit, and I think it's so important to kind of be used to like using it. So if you have got any like old auto-injectors, maybe like practice on that, but also make sure you get some tester auto-injectors. I think that is so important. I did a podcast with the Allergy table and she mentioned obviously when you do go into antibiotic shots, sometimes like your eyes are like, your eyes are tearing and you can't see, so maybe try using tester auto-injectors, closing your eyes and doing it that way, because you never know in these kind of like certain kind of circumstances, you don't know if your eyes are going to be swollen, so it's always best to practice with your eyes closed as well, which sounds really silly, but actually when she kind of told it me, I thought, oh, you know what, that's such a good tip. So yeah, practice with your eyes closed but also open as well, so you know, definitely know how to use the auto-injector. So the next question is, I went to university, I ended up losing a bunch of weight and being pretty unhealthy because I went to school that forced first years to get a meal plan. Most of the meals were free, that came from the cafeteria or the campus food options, but the campus did nothing to accommodate food allergy and there's no way of knowing the menu ahead of time. So most days I go and eat some lettuce, raw veg and then leave. I hope schools have more accommodation now. Me personally, like going to university, I always think it's best if you do self-accommodation, because then you're cooking for yourself and you're eating for yourself, so there's definitely going to be like kind of no risk there. Whereas if you go to kind of a university where there is like a meal plan in place, then obviously makes it a lot trickier then, innit? Because you don't know what's going to be in the food or the ingredients, and you got to make sure obviously the cafeteria know about your allergens. So yeah, I think for me personally, it's always best to go self-catering if you can, because I feel a lot safer that way. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, make sure to check out all the amazing work that the anaphylaxis campaign are doing, and if you want to check out May Contain, it's _May Contain on Instagram, and I'm also have a YouTube channel where I do more type of content like this, so yeah, make sure to check it out. Thank you.